moving into our second conversation for the morning, and this one is all about the annual Diocese Day. Diocese Day will be celebrated on Sunday, August 13th, and of course we have with us three representatives to talk to us about Diocese Day and what you can expect. With us we have Bishop himself, Bishop Philip Wright, the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Belize. And also we have with us Dr. Jeremy Cayetano. She is the General Manager for the Anglican Pre- and Primary Schools. And also Miss Josephine Flowers. She is the planner for the annual Diocese Day Planning Committee. Good morning, guys, and of course, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Sabrina and Paul. It's a joy to be here. It's been a while since
Has it?
but for good reasons.
Yes, yes.
But it's good.
So let's start things off with the Diocese Day. So Bishop, I'll throw the question over to you to get a bit of a background of Diocese Day and the reason why we celebrate it.
Well, Diocesan Family Day, which is what it has emerged as. It used to be just Diocesan Day. And it was an annual celebration of when we became what we call a separate or independent diocese, sort of like our Independence Day as a church. And that occurred on the 10th of August, 1883. Prior to that, we used to be under the jurisdiction of Jamaica. And so the Bishop of Jamaica was also the Bishop of Belize or British Honduras back then. But in 1883, it was decided that we would become our own diocese, which means we would have our own bishop and our own governing structure. And so for the last 15 or so years, we have been celebrating that. More recently, it has emerged into this Diocesan Family Day, when we all gather from all over the country, sometimes have a parade, as you will hear, but definitely a big celebration of the Holy Communion, the Holy Eucharist, and a fun day, games and laughter, good food, and all that sort of thing. And so COVID arrested it for about 3 years, so this is our first time again since the COVID, and you will see that our team is together with Christ, together again. You know, it's sort of celebrating the fact that we now have a chance to come again as a family and enjoy one another. Was
there a particular reason why it took until 15 years ago to celebrate this momentous occasion?
Very good question, and I think it was just we would mark the day, you know, we would, and it's in my time really, I think we decided, you know what, instead of just acknowledging the day and reminding people, oh, on this day we became a diocese, why not do something? And it emerged, as I said, into now a sort of grand family day for the church. And not only Anglicans, by the way, may I put that plug one time? You are invited as well if you plan to go north. And we are saying to the general public, yes, Anglicans will be gathered, but please know, you're welcome if you want to come and just enjoy and share a day with us.
So then I want to throw that question to you, Bishop. How do you go about celebrating Diocese Day with different denominations?
You mean how do we include? Well, you know, I think one of the beauties of the Anglican Church, if I may say so, is it has always had or tried to have this kind of welcoming. So yes, we are Anglicans, we have maybe our set of beliefs, but they were always accommodating. In other words, you come and you want to partake in the Holy Communion. You will never see us saying you can't come. Right. And if you come and you want to participate, we can create space for you to read a lesson, sing a song. And that has always been, I believe, who we are as a church. No? And that helps when we have ecumenical partners or other churches.
Within the Anglican Church, what's the significance of becoming a diocese in terms of self-governance? What's the importance there in terms of the weight that holds?
One of the major things with that is, like I said, it's a form of independence. And so you are now able to have your own bishop. You don't have to be under somebody else's jurisdiction. And you can then construct your governance the way you want. your constitution. We're a constitutional church as well. We actually have rules and regulations that govern how we manage. But also, by so doing, you can better align yourself with other dioceses. For instance, we in Belize are part of what we call the church in the province of the West Indies.
Okay.
7 other dioceses make up this regional body, from Bahamas in the north to Guyana in the south and all the islands. So Belize is only one of 8 dioceses. And then we belong to a global church called the Anglican Communion, and that is all over the world. Population of, I think, approaching 90 million Anglicans all over the world. So, but by becoming a diocese, it's like becoming independent Belize. You take your place among other nations now, and it gives you some rights, it gives you some privileges, but most importantly, you have the opportunity to kind of steer your own course now.
Nice.
And I think that was a significant moment for us as a church, much as how 1981 was a significant moment for us as a country.
And this would have happened well before.
Well before.
1981. Now let's talk a bit about the celebration of the day itself and what can be expected of this family day.
How do you celebrate after 3 years?
Right.
Well, with what we can say, we are going to put all into it. We are putting
Yeah.
all into it because this is one thing that we do, and we want to make sure that everybody have fun. So we do the serious part first. But first thing we want to do, when I'm finished, I'll go over the bus route so that people can hear it. But what we do a parade. So the parade is going to be the fun part first, because we'll have drummers. We'll have drumming, so some people will be dancing. And that's what we want. And then we also will do the word as we go through the streets. We are going to read the word to in the areas that we will stop. So we hope we'll go 7th Avenue, then we'll turn into 3rd, into College Road, and then to CCC. So it's not a long parade, but it's going to be a meaningful parade, so that the whole neighborhood will be able to participate. So we are encouraging people to come out, listen to the word, and if they want to participate with us, they can participate. There are lots of space at CCC to accommodate as much people as possible. And I know that they said that they invited the Methodists from Corozal, so we know we'll be having other people from other denominations. And as Bishop said, and we want to make a joyful noise to the Lord, so we need a lot of singing voices, especially male singing voices.
Yeah.
Right.
So we want the males to come out, because when you go to church, you hear a lot of ladies
You
singing.
need that baritone.
You need the balance. You need that balance. So we are looking forward to that.
So it's an entire day of events.
Yes, we start off with the parade.
Yeah.
Then when we get to CCC, we'll have this service.
Okay.
And it's going to be a service where we do it in all the language that we have in our diocese.
Wow.
So probably you hear something in Spanish, you hear something in Garifuna, then we do English. We are not sure about the other languages as yet, but those 3 we are sure of. And then there's always something to look forward to in the service.
Yeah.
When we present our gifts when they take up the gifts to the altar, etc. So we hope that will be something.
With
the drummers, we make it. It's a big thing for us.
Will there be any sort of swallowship involved in
There
this
is
event?
swallowship afterwards.
Afterwards.
yeah.
Afterwards. Okay. All right.
Okay, guys, I don't want to show my ignorance in this, but what is swallowship?
It's an important part of any church celebration, Serena.
Okay.
Food.
The food.
I was wondering as well.
That makes sense now.
That's what, his term, by the way.
There's
could be other-
fellowship
something that was
and
in the
then there's
diocese.
fellowship.
Wow, you are funny.
Yes.
Right?
But I'll take the. Or you
Yes,
can finish
yes,
the show.
and then the bishop is in charge of the service, but Father Stone from Corozal is also going to be an integral part. And then there will be all our ministers or priests, whatever we call them, and we have our lay ministers, we have our choir, and that's where we want the males too, to make sure they can come and sing. Because we want everybody to hear in the neighborhood that we are singing and praising the Lord.
Right.
So that is what we are going to do. So when we are finished with that the service. Then we get to the other part where we are going to have swallowship as we call it. We have games, a lot of events that, especially for the children. And you can win prizes. And we always end with our beautiful tug of war. That is one of the best things to have when you have a lot of macho men in the, you know.
That way they show up.
Right,
That way
everybody
they
wants
show
to
up.
win.
Yeah.
So we are going to have it by region. We hope we'll have 4 regional teams, and then we can come up with a winner. And we'll have some prizes. We don't have a lot of prizes, but we have ribbons for everybody.
All right.
And for the children, we are looking for other gifts or gifts to them because we want to encourage our youth to participate.
Now, I understand that for those who want to go and aren't too sure about how they'll get to the location, that there's transportation available as well.
Free transportation.
Free transportation.
So we have a lot of buses going. So we can start from Orange Walk. They leave from St. Peter's. And we have Mr. Stephen Humes is in charge. So they leave at 7:15. Then we have Anglican Cathedral College. They are taking 2 buses with their school band. So I tell you, we come out large. We have band, we have music. You name it, we'll be having it. And Mr. Langsworth is in charge of that. Then we have St. John's Cathedral. And both of them most of the city buses are leaving 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So all the city buses will be leaving at 6. So St. John's, we have Miss Sandra Anna, who is in charge. Then we have All Saints, Miss Sonia Linares is in charge. Then we have Belize Rural, our office secretary, Charlotte Neal, is in charge. And so all of us are leaving at 6, the buses from the city. Then for St. Anne's in Belmopan, they are leaving at 5:30. Miss Cecile Reyes is in charge of that. St. Mary's, again, that's Belize City, we leave at 6. St. Andrews in Cayo,
San Ignacio,
they leave at 5 a.m. Miss Perla Gonzalez is in charge. St. Agnes, that is in Mahogany Heights, they leave 5:30, and Mahogany Heights is bringing out their band too.
Wonderful.
So, and Miss Ina Willoughby is in charge. St. Hilda's, Georgeville, where? Yes, Georgeville. They leave at 5:25, and Miss Jane Martinez is in charge. Then we have St. John Memorial, Wayne Placencia.
Yeah, wow.
They're coming up. They leave at 5. Reverend Dawson is in charge.
It's all over the country.
Yes.
For the country,
And then
yeah.
Christ the King in Dangriga.
Wow.
They leave between 5 and 5:30. I had Reverend Barbara said 5:30 this morning, and Reverend Barbara is in charge. So all the buses will be going along the way. So, and it probably, if I was on one of the buses, you would have heard singing coming along the highway.
Yeah, the buses themselves going to be a fun place.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Dr. Cayetana, I want to bring you in the conversation. You are the general manager for the Anglican pre and primary schools.
Yes,
Let's talk
ma'am.
about your involvement in the Diocese Day as well.
All right, so we have 18 schools, and some of them are attached to preschools, and we are definitely members of the Anglican family. We have to make that clear. We are school and we're into education and all of that, but we are all members of the Anglican community. We are excited and we are happy that the schools have responded, and we will have our teachers and we will have our students, and we will even have some of their parents coming, and we'll be involved all the way. We'll be involved in the parade. We'll be in our uniforms. For the most part, we'll be in our uniforms. We'll be involved in the parade. We're going to be involved in the church service. And of course, we're going to have fun in the children's section and be a part of the games and win some of those prizes that Ms. Josephine was talking about. So we are encouraging our schools. Again, we are members of the Anglican family, and it's Anglican Family Day, so the school family joins with the church family, and we are going to be a
What's the
major part.
mission of the diocese in these schools? What is the mission and the aim?
All right. We could always offer general education to students and so on, and they will learn and etc. But we believe fundamentally that having Christ-centered schools and teaching the way of Christ in the schools makes a difference at the end of the day with the students who will be members of the be the adult members of the community later on. And so we hopefully bring that presence of Christ and brings that moral compass and brings that wholeness of a person into the mix, so that it's not just, you're not just going to learn your literacy and numeracy, but also consciousness as a person who is Christ-centered. We are hoping that at the end of the day, that's the person that is going out into society.
I think one of the things, as Doc was talking to, I always remember reading Henry Nguyen. He's a Roman priest, but writes a lot of nice little books that I like, because you could read them in one night. But I always like an image he put forward of what the classroom is. And I'm sure he's not the first to say it, but in one of his books he says, the classroom is like, next to the family, the classroom is the next space that gives you an idea of what society will look like.
Secondary socialization.
That's right. And so the relationships you encourage or discourage in the classroom will largely reflect what your society becomes. And so if you can have a component of that space that gives emphasis to morality and the treatment of each other equally, you can't go wrong as a society in the long run. And I think the church is uniquely positioned, not only the church, but the church is uniquely positioned to offer that kind of guidance, and we know it's desperately needed in the times in which we live.
What's as you continue to serve in your capacity, and we're talking about your celebration of becoming a diocese, what's the vision moving forward for the diocese?
Well, we would like to know that we can continue to be a part of the development of this country and its people. I mean, we've been here, the Anglican Church, for better or worse, we've been here from literally the beginning. Historical records would suggest that the Anglican Church had a presence in this area going back to perhaps the early 1700s. Well, we came with the English enterprise. And there is, you can always make judgments as to the slavery days, all those things. The fact, though, is that the church has been a part of the development of this country, along with others, of course. And we do hope that we can continue to do that, whether through the schools and through our social outreach programs, which we do a lot of good work in the community, and maybe just being this kind of, what we say, a sort of beacon, a compass of sorts to say, this is the better way to go. In the midst of all the challenges, as you've been talking about today, it's not a perfect story, but I think it's a story of commitment. It is a story of vision, of a better world. And yeah, we hope we can play a small part in that, along with others. One thing with the Anglican Church, it never tricks itself into thinking it's the only one.
Yeah.
we are working with others. We're all on a journey towards a better place, right?
Yeah, and just speaking about that community, you're not alone. I'd like to divert just for a bit to get your take on one of the more hot button topics that's taking place within the church community as a whole, the body as a whole, in terms of allegations of sexual abuse within the church, and the question as to whether or not this is a prevalent issue within the body, and an adequate church response should look like.
Well, as you know, I mean, every time it happens, it grabs the headlines, obviously, and for good reasons. In the church, you'll have people who have their own feelings towards the church, whether positive or negative, and they will join the bandwagon. And so we've been down this road many times, unfortunately. And I think the thing to look for, though, is that the church clearly indicates it has zero tolerance for this kind of behavior, whether it's of the nature that is being alleged or messing with children, you name it. I think we need to note that the church has zero tolerance for that. Secondly, though, there are a lot of hurting people in these things, and the church as a community that is supposed to advocate healing and restoration and so on must reach out to those who have been, I don't know if victim is the right word, but you know, those who have been harmed by these things. The church also has to hold those accountable, the perpetrators, you know, wherever they come from. And I think also something we've learned over the years is you can't hide this thing. The church needs to confront it, come clear with it, admit to its own failings, and take steps to correct it and make sure it doesn't happen again. Having said that, as you and I know, we're working with human nature too, eh? And the church is filled with fallen, broken, imperfect beings just like everybody else, but it's how we respond. And I think that is where if there's a judgment to be placed, it's to see how the church responds to these things. Acknowledge it, reach out to those who have been affected, hold perpetrators accountable, and somehow help the larger community, because these things end up hurting the whole community. Help that community towards reconciliation and healing and hopefully a better place.
Yeah, I agree with you in saying it hurts the entire community, because in the minds of a lot of individuals, it's not just that particular denomination, or it's the church.
Exactly.
It's say, oh, the church and the church people. Final question, and this just to ask, where does the law of the land in your thoughts, where does the law of the land fit into all of this? I know that many times churches have their own methods of restoration and working with an individual, but when it comes to the law of the land, should that be considered as a part of accountability, taking accountability and action?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Remember I mentioned we have our own constitution that helps us to govern ourselves internally, but that internal constitution cannot violate the constitution of the country. And so the law has to apply. The hope is a denomination, a church will have within its own structure mechanisms to deal with it, but where something is criminal or transgresses the law of the land, then the appropriate steps, as hard as it may be, the appropriate steps need to kick into place. You can't have an institution existing in society that is above the law or is excused. That's not how societies flourish. No one is above the law. And I think as a society we must insist on that. That holds not just for the church, it holds for politicians, it holds for the media. You violate the law of the land, you will be held accountable. But hopefully the institution of which you are part will also hold you accountable within their own structure. But the law of the land should supersede any constitution of an institution within that country.
Does the diocese have any sort of structure or system for sensitization of its leaders where these matters are concerned?
Very good question. We do. We have been developing a thing called Safe Church. And I'll gladly share some of that with you at some point. But it is clear as to the boundaries that you can't go beyond. And what is interesting too, the church has a thing called ecclesiastical court. We actually have our own internal little court system, and not even the bishop is above that. I go out of the way, and the archbishop can assemble an ecclesiastical court within which I will be tried within. And we have a thing we call when you go the wrong way. This is another term for you, Sabrina. In our church, we can defrock you. And that's an official term. Strip you of all your rights and privileges as an ordained person and ask you to to leave the ministry. Not the church, because we're still, but you will no longer be able to function as a priest,
leader.
as a leader in that church.
Okay. Well, Diocese Day,
Yeah.
that's on Sunday,
Sunday, the 13th.
the 13th
In Corozal
Corozal.
town, where the parade will start at 9 a.m. through the streets, the main streets. As Josephine said, we will be reading Bible lessons to the whole community, dancing behind the last truck, which will be playing some nice music, and then the bands with the children and the schools. CCC, the Caribbean Corozal Community College, we assemble there for the service and fun day. And I think it will go until 3 o'clock or so, because we have to make our way back home.
But of course, there's transportation across the country.
There's transportation across the country. By the way, just for contact, if you don't mind, the numbers for the office that you could call are 227-3029 or 227-8055. And you call those numbers and you can get further information as to the details. So, but again, we want to thank Channel 5, Open Your Eyes, for giving us this opportunity, along with my colleagues, to come and spread the word.
We wanna break the idea that people have that the church don't know how to have fun. Who said the church people don't know how to have fun? Well, you're breaking that stigma.
We sure are. You come there, and remember, all are invited. We may say this is an Anglican family day, but really and truly, you are in Corozal, you want to come by, please know you're welcome. We'll treat you just like every other member of the family.
Perfect.
And if you cannot make the parade, you can go and wait for us at CCC. So if you don't have the knees and the legs to do the parade, still come.
Yeah.
We'll take you to where the service would be held, and you can sit and wait there for us.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We
Thank you
appreciate
very
the
much.
information, and we hope the celebration goes well.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's all about a fashion show called Midnight Sun, a summer collection. Don't go away.